Okay, with this video, we're going to be setting up Gimp. So for optimal use with the things you're going to be using for making textures for Second Life. Okay, so we're going to go and click on Windows, and then we're going to go down to Dockable Dialogues. The first thing and most important thing is going to be Tool Options. So we want to click on that and open that up. And we'll drag this over here to the left-hand side. If you already have these things open, then that's fine. They need to be open. But there's another tool thing here, and I can't find it. That's not it. And I close mine. And okay, there we go. Toolbox. Tool options. We're going to drag this. If you left click on this little top of this icon where it says tool options and you drag it over, you should be able to drag this into this box. And it's not working, but it should work. Or maybe not. Okay, but I don't think this is the window I need to open anyway. Okay, let's create a new toolbox. That's the window I need open. And I'm gonna make this like 4, no 5, because I always want my pointer to 6. Okay, 6 wide because I always want my pointer thing, my move tool here. That's the tool I use most, so I want that like that. Okay, so now we're going to drag the toolbox, and you see how this turns blue? Well, this is where you want to put it. Right underneath this, you want to just drop it there. And then you want to, on this little side looking arrow little thing, click on it and lock tab to dock. That's going to mean that you cannot move it anywhere else. It's going to stay there. Every time you're going to open Gimp from now on, it's going to be right there. And when you click on any tool in this toolbox, your options are going to be right underneath it. And that's probably the most handiest thing in Gimp, because you don't want to have to go and start looking for your options every time you bring up a tool. It takes a lot of time. Okay, so then other things you're going to use a lot is, what other windows you're going to use a lot is, first of all, layers. I mean, everything you make in SL is going to have layers, you know, because you're going to want to save it as layers. That way you can come back later and change it. So we're going to scale this because we're going to add another box to this in a little bit. So we want to make this about half the size of the screen here. And to this, we're also going to add another box we need, which is the channels. Okay, channels you won't use a lot, but it's pretty important, because if you need to do an alpha channel or an alpha layer on your texture, and if you ever start working with like lace and things like that, you're going to see that Gimp, when you save transparent things and bring them into SL, a lot of times around those transparent things, they will have a black grayish looking shadow around it. Photoshop creates a white one and it's called a halo, but I guess in Gimp it's just called a shadow, and a lot of times it looks natural. But when you're working with things with fine lines like lace, it won't look that natural. It will look like you have a big old black ring around that lace, and it will look really ugly. And you're going to need that box for when you start doing that, and that's in another section for channels. Anyway, I always keep it up there. So another one you're going to need is paths, and this one you're going to use pretty much when you start learning how to do your own textures and your own shadows, and you know, not working from other people's textures, starting your own from scratch. So we're going to drag this over to this box because we want all these in the same place here, and we'll put that one for before the channels because we're going to use it a lot more. And then we need, the last one we need is undo history. And you probably won't use undo history a lot unless you're making a lot of mistakes and you're backing up a lot, and but I'm going to show you real quick what this does. So we're going to put this in here, and let me open something or create something and I'll show you what it does. Okay, Say I fill this with pink, and then I go back and I add a new layer, and I do something on this layer. Let's okay, but then I decide I don't want this. Well, you see, everything I've done comes up in the undo history box. Okay, so let's say I decide I don't want this pink layer. I don't want the layer to be pink at all. I can go straight back to my base image, and it'll be just like I never did anything to it. And it's quicker than using the undo, 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 undo. Because like, okay, see, if I went back to base image here, I'd have to do undo pencil, undo add layer, undo, and you don't have to do that. You just go to undo and click that. If you get a lot of things in here, then you have to clear that out. And right here, you'll see, if you scroll over it, you'll see remove all operations from the undo history. If you click that, that will free up some, see, it will free up some random access memory, and that sometimes will help you to not crash Gimp, because Gimp does like to crash. It uses up a whole lot of RAM. So, okay, so that's that. Those are the things we need at the top, and you can do the same thing. You can go over here to the little thing, and you can lock each one of these tabs to this dock. That way, every time you open Gimp, they're going to be there, and you won't be able to move them anywhere else. Okay, so now what we need is patterns, because that you're going to use a hell of a lot. And we want to drag this underneath. And if you see right here, it's creating a little blue line right underneath this little file thing here and all. That's where you want to drop it, because you want it to be below your layers pad. Okay. And then if we scale this down to full size, you'll see that it's, your patterns are down there. And again, we're going to lock this tab to the dock. And we're going to open gradients. Okay, and we're going to drag this here besides the pattern. I don't use gradients a lot, probably not as much as I should, but making hair and hair textures, and if you want to do like rainbows, say, you'll see the gradient. And if you like click on this gradient box here, well, it's blend tool, but it's actually, it's got the gradient look to it, black to white. It gives you a really cool look, and you can use foreground, background color, which if I did that, it would make it in shades of white to pink. Okay, and again, each one does something different, and if you look through all these, there's a lot of different gradients, and you can create your own, but that's for another lesson too. So let's go back to base image and erase all that. And then the last one you want to put on here is your brushes. You probably don't have a lot of brushes yet, except the standard ones, but as you get into more details of working with different things, you're going to end up having to go and find brushes and incorporate them, or maybe you can make your own, like for wrinkles and shadows and stuff like that. So you put that brushes tabs here, and because I use the brushes more than I do the gradients, I want to put that, okay, let's try to lock this. I want to put that before that, so then I just go back and make sure that all of them are locked. And then now every time I open Gimp, this is what it's going to look like, okay? And nothing's going to be able to be moved because it's all locked down, and yeah, you're good to go that way. Okay, that's it. Easy, easy peasy.